fact a subscriber and you've got notifications turned on. If you have, thank you very much indeed. We really appreciate that. If you haven't and you're coming into this a bit late, go to the bottom of the page and do please jump in with any notifications that you want to set up, letting people know that we go live on a Wednesday and a Sunday. I've just turned the notification on the Facebook video as well. That's public. So if you do comment on the video on Facebook, on my public Facebook, those should come through. However, I didn't change any of the details from the last podcast I did. So this is not the Tripwire Awards 2020 presentation announcement, just to kind of make that clear. But I'm going to be talking about that a little bit later because it's something that I'm involved in. I'm really looking forward to taking place a week on Monday. It's something that would have been happening at the Portsmouth Comic Con in May, but obviously with the landscape that we're in at the moment, Portsmouth has now been postponed to 2021. The organizer of the Tripwire Awards has turned around and said that he didn't want those votes and all of the talent that was being represented to kind of go to waste. So we wanted to still honor those awards, and that's what we're going to be doing. It's going to be an online presentation. It is going to be streaming on the Tripwire social media, on their Facebook, YouTube, etc. We'll send out all the links. We'll tell you where to find it, but it's going to be also a little bit later as well. It's going to be around 2 hours after this. So it's going to be midday in the Pacific. It's going to be 3 p.m. Eastern, and it's going to be 8 p.m. GMT. But hopefully you can join myself and Joel Meadows, where we're going to be talking the best and brightest of the last 12 months and the rest of comics. It's going to be a lot of fun. Also, someone that I want to show true thanks and appreciation to is my fantastic Patreon supporters. Now, I did actually get the new list of Patreon supporters through yesterday. So this is last month's graphic. I'll update this the first opportunity I get. It's probably going to be tomorrow. But these are the people who've been supporting us up to now. I'll update the list for tomorrow. But for now, these are amazing people that are allowing us to keep the lights on and keep doing what we do. So thank you so much indeed. If anybody is a Patreon supporter, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Right, Andrew English is here. Hello all. We got into the blue Mr. Afternoon, folks. 1 or 2 people joining us already. It's a pleasure to have you along. It's the top of the hour. That clock is about to die off. So let's dive straight into it because we have got some great guests and I'm really looking forward to talking to them. Hello there, everybody. Welcome to Talking Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. My name is Leonard Sultana, and each and every Wednesday and Sunday we talk comics, Comic-Cons, pop culture. The world has come to a screeching halt, how the world is starting to reboot the engine, and what we've all been doing throughout the pandemic. It's certainly also a place where we can come together as a comics and Comic-Con community. It's definitely turned into that kind of group hug on a Wednesday and a Sunday. It's all about you guys on the chat. Please do jump in. If you are watching this on Facebook, please do chat me. Do put a comment in, if anything, so we know that you're watching, because we have been having some issues with the Facebook comments. I just want to make sure that those are coming through. Stuff we're going to talk about a little bit later, including we're going to touch on it on this conversation about DC making that grand announcement about their relationship with Diamond. We're going to get into all of that. A couple of comic conventions still being very bullish about their going forward with their misadventures, and of course we're going to talk about London Film and Comic Con, which did announce that they were cancelling this week. We'll get into all of that in a little news section at the back end of the show. But we have ourselves some great guests, so I'm looking forward to introducing you to Tina Gann, also known as red.diva on social media. Hello there, Tina. How are you?
Hello. How are you?
Hello. Now, whereabouts are you in the world? Because
Singapore.
It's Singapore where you are. So
I'm in the future.
Remind me, you're in the future. It's Monday morning for you. 1 a.m. or 2 a.m.?
1 a.m. now, yeah.
1 a.m. Okay.
Monday.
So if this was happening a little, I mean, we were talking about this earlier on in the week, thinking it was probably going to be 2 o'clock in the morning. And there was that fear that it was going to be like 3 o'clock when we were all wrapping up. And that's the last thing you need. But there we go. But it's great to have you along. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Tina. And we have the excellent, most excellent Fred Van Lente joining us. Hello, Fred. How are you, sir?
Hey, pretty good, Leonard. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, hello.
Yep, I'm here.
It's not too. It's a. Oh yeah, it was kind of lost you a little bit there. I wasn't too sure if that's me or you, but you're here. We can hear you. It's fantastic.
Yay.
It's good to have you here.
You're here.
Yay! Last time I spoke to Fred was, I believe, MCM London.
Yep.
And we were talking about the Con Artist book, and we're going to talk about that as well, because why more comic artists and comic writers and publishers and Comic Con fans weren't talking about that book when it got released? I have no. There it is. My signed copies upstairs. Look at that thing, right? Oh, if not,
Also
okay,
an audio
guys.
book.
If you've not read this, what? Excuse me.
Also an audiobook form.
Okay, that I didn't know about. That I didn't know about. Okay, I know we're on directly after this. Oh, I'm up for that. Who's read it for you? Fred.
Do it. Sorry, one more time. You're not. You were also breaking.
Yeah,
up
you were glitching. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm hoping it's Mike. Yeah. Who's?
Oops, we lost you there for a while.
Yeah. Once again, sorry.
Is it me?
Yeah, we lost you there for a while.
Oh man, almighty. Hang on a second. Let me just. No, it's the connection's all fine. Okay, we'll try again. One last time. Who's read the book for you?
I'm blanking. Roger Wayne, who's excellent.
Okay, then.
Excellent.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Yeah, I'll look for listening to that, because the book's a great read. But I'm curious to see how it works in audiobook form, because it comes with. Wow, because it comes with like comic sketches in the book. So how that works in an audiobook form?
Oh yeah, probably.
I don't know.
I mean, the actual wonderful Tom Fowler sketches get described pretty. There's an example of one.
Pretty well.
Pretty well in the text, but I don't want to keep Tina up too past her bedtime. So we'll talk about my stuff later.
We'll talk about that, absolutely. I mean, first, I think it's best to just start with the situation we're all in with the pandemic, with the lockdown. I mean, we were talking very briefly before we came on about where we are in terms of lockdown. I mean, Fred, you're based in New York, I believe.
I am, New York City.
Yeah, so you're well and truly in it. And Tina, where are you, and where's Singapore in terms of lockdown at the moment?
Well, the government didn't dare to say that it was a lockdown, so they kind of softened the message to say that it was a circuit breaker, kind of like an on-off switch. So we were on circuit breaker for about 56 days, about nearly a month, 2 months. They extended it once midway. And then just this Tuesday, I think they allowed people to go back to work. But the working from home is supposed to be still the default method. But so those manufacturing factories, they are allowed to open. And there were a lot of rules concerning, public transport. And of course, mask wearing is a definite must. And there are legal repercussions during this pandemic. There were a lot of laws that were passed during this time as well. So they are hoping that the cases will be stable and go down within these couple of weeks. Although we have a lot of cases, mainly from migrant workers. And so that was a cause of concern, actually, from about 98% were foreign workers. They were living in dorms, in very crowded dorms. So the disease just spread really quickly. Fortunately, though, the strain that they got was not as serious. Most of them didn't suffer very much from the symptoms or the disease, and our death rate is really low. So they are hoping that maybe they'll have this, they call it now phase 1 reopening. Hopefully there'll be phase 2 reopening, where maybe you can meet with people, maybe 5 in a group or something like this, and then maybe some dining will be allowed to be open. We are hoping. We are hoping.
Well, I mean, it sounds. I mean, from what I've been hearing, certainly from our kind of news, that it's been something that has been taken seriously, and that when rules have been put in place, they've been enforced. Over here in the UK, it's a little bit woolly. It's kind of it's indeterminate. You kind of have to go to a website every day to find out what rules are in place today. It's a little bit in a little bit flux at the moment. The information from the people we're supposed to trust.
It's the same. I think some of us were complaining that the government was changing rules at certain points as well, like mask, no mask, you know, and then they were saying that, oh, maybe the kids going back to school can wear shields, but then now they say that who was saying that masks, shields are not enough, so they changed it again. So yeah, there was a little bit of this, but generally there were these really detailed, strict guidelines. It was like a micromanager's dream or something like this.
Fair enough. And for yourself, Fred, I mean, we certainly here in the UK, we hear about New York being the center of the pandemic, in inverted commas, the capital C, capital P. But when it comes to life in New York, what's it currently like at the moment?
Well, in addition to the pandemic, as I'm sure you both know, we've had a very much needed political uprising going on here simultaneously. So the government sort of foolishly decided to impose a curfew. So we've been dealing with that. There was an 8 o'clock curfew, which is essentially sundown this time of year, since Tuesday. That's been lifted finally today. So it's been a little intense. A lot of helicopters, a lot of cops in the street. You know, I think the good news pandemic-wise is that the curve has been more or less successfully flattened. New York City is actually supposed to begin its phase 1 of reopening on Monday. So we'll see. But I was just out there. The police streets pretty intense. And you know, we've definitely had some you know, windows smashed on storefronts and kind of minor vandalism in my neck of the woods. But for the most part, it's been thousands and thousands of people peacefully protesting and peacefully marching, as they rightly should, for the Black Lives Matter movement.
Absolutely. I mean, certainly when I don't know if you've seen the video that went viral of the actress playing herself 3 months ahead in the future, that comes back in time and not wanting to do too much with the butterfly effect, but there's a conversation about what has happened over the last 3 months, and obviously, quite rightfully, it blows January person's mind. But then there's the follow-up video, which is very much the same thing, where it's a case of the world just seems to be changing on a weekly basis. It's just the fact that we are barely into month 6 of 2020, and it feels like we've had 2 or 3 years of this. It's just been insane. In terms of kind of creativity then, I mean, especially this week, especially with what's happening in the streets with the protests. When I've spoken to people, creatives that have come on the show, certainly during pandemic, it was a case of, hang on a second, being locked in a room, getting no sleep, having strange dreams. That's pretty much what I do as a comic creator anyway. So there's kind of that got said. But for yourself, how's it been in terms of just being motivated to create things throughout the last 2 months?
Well, I mean, what I've been telling people is I've been training for quarantine my whole life, since I'm kind of a bookish introvert who never left his room in the first place. So really, I am primed. Like, this is like, you know, this is like being a survivalist in a zombie apocalypse, right? So I've done. I don't mean to gloat, but I've slept better during this pandemic than I have in a long time. Partly because you know, honestly, the competition, a lot of this creative life is competition. And once everyone's shut down and once no one else is doing anything either, you have this great weight lifted off your shoulders. And if you're a person who is maybe motivated by the validation of others, or, you know, competing, I guess is the better word. If you're the sort of person who needs social competition to thrive, then this is probably really tough for you. I've always been a huge weirdo, just kind of lives in his own little bubble and has very eclectic interests anyway. So it's very hard for me to compare my work to anyone else's. So I've just kind of kept on carrying on, you know. My oft partner in crime, Ryan Dunleavy, and I were doing a Kickstarter right when the lockdown happened. So that actually kept me distracted, you know, and kept me sort of motivated, since we'd been doing it for a couple weeks before everything went into shutdown mode. So that was very helpful. There's a lot of interest right now in animation. So some of my work has been approached from the animation standpoint, because obviously people can make animation now. You don't need to get up 200 people in an area, in a soundstage, or on location or whatever, to shoot a film or shoot a TV show.
We are
wherever, you know.
We're going to see an animation boom at the end of this.
Oh yeah. Well, you're going to see it. It's currently in motion, you know. So it's been. I mean, what I always tell people is that the motivation for creating creative work always has to come in here. So, and you kind of have to do it regardless of what your personal surrounding circumstances are. So, I guess I've kind of practiced what I preached, and I've just kind of kept going, you know. I've been so productive, I'm kind of literally running out of things to do. I hope the comic book industry starts back up again. I've actually picked up some jobs since the pandemic started, but still, like, I kind of like, maybe I'll go fishing. I don't know. I'm kind of running out of, I've kind of banged everything out at this point. So we'll see.
Well, the Kickstarter, which I'm guessing we're talking Action Presidents, yeah?
The Kickstarter was for a book called The Comic Book History of Animation, which is a sequel to my book, The Comics, and was done by my Action Presidents comrade, Ryan Dunleavy. But yeah, that was a book about the history. Ironically enough, since suddenly there's going to be this animation boom, we're doing a book on the history of animation, comic book.
And how long has that taken to come to fruition?
I think we were talking about it as of early last year, and so I researched it most of last year. And Ryan just finished the first issue. That went out to our backers. I'm about ready to finish the script of the third issue. So there's 5 issues. So it's, you know, it's chugging along. We really wanted to go to Japan to research it, but I was this close to booking flights, because friends, flights to Asia are really cheap right now. Like really, really cheap. Like I almost was going to book hotels in Tokyo. The Tokyo hotels are just nuts cheap. But given the predictions of a fall resurgence of the virus, I was like, probably.
Yeah.
I should stay put.
Well, I mean, that's probably a wise idea. I mean, we're going to, Sonny, I wanted to talk to you about your convention history and the fact that this year has effectively been, certainly up to October, November time for the moment, pretty much being wiped clean when it comes to the conventions. I was going to talk to you, I will talk to you about the shows that you were intending to do. But certainly for yourself, Tina, you are somebody that not only is involved in the Singapore Comics and Games, I want to say the Singapore Comics and Games Expo?
No,
I've got that.
They have changed their name now because of the lengthy name that everybody trips over. So it's now synced up with all the rest of the Comic Cons that they are doing, and it's just now called Singapore Comic Con. They launched that name last year. I'm not sure what's going to happen this year due to all these that's happening. Yeah, but
indeed,
let's hope. Yeah.
So I mean, like I say, the last time I saw you was Star Wars Celebration. You're somebody that when she can, she puts the air miles on and does go to conventions when she can. I mean, this year has been pretty much scrubbed clean. What were you going to be heading up to? What were you going to see?
For Star Wars Celebration Anaheim, but they haven't announced whether it was going on or not without that it would be, going on. But people are still hoping. Whatever it is, I don't think I'll be able to go because I don't feel safe. And
Right.
I think the rule now is still no essential traveling unless you're doing business or some important matters. And also, if you come back, there will be quarantine for you. I'm not going to have a 2-week quarantine. And if I get sick, I have to pay for my own hospitalization bills. Right now, the government's footing for it. So likelihood, even though if it's going on, I'm not flying there.
Fair enough. That's understandable. And for yourself, Fred, I mean, like I say, we met in London. You are somebody that will put the air miles on if required. Where were you intending to go this year? What cons were on the cards?
This was going to be an off-con year for me. I had booked Philly and New York Comic Con, and both of those are technically still going on paper. So, we'll see. We'll see if any of that actually comes to pass. I think New York Comic Con is traditionally early October.
Yep.
And Philly was supposed to be late August. Both of those, both of those. Philadelphia is a 3-hour train ride for me, so it's very close. It's very simple to do. There's no air travel involved in either of those. I could I've been to so many Comic Cons I could do without them for a year. No offense to the subject matter of the show, but it sucks not to be able to see people, and it's a huge part of the culture and huge part of interacting with fans and stuff. I'm not someone. I know a lot of people are hurting right now, and we're really upset. Like, if you remember back, to the dinosaur age when Emerald City in Seattle was canceled, a lot of people were very upset because a lot of their income is based on convention going. Fortunately, I'm not one of those folks. But I can certainly see how that's going to be super. That's good. A lot of folks are going to struggle with replacing that lost income.
I mean, for the pair of you, I mean, like I say, as international travelers to conventions, I'm really curious to see, because certainly we've got London Film and Comic Con, which is now technically going ahead later on in the year. But they're putting on a massive international talent pool coming from the US. I'm curious what, from the perspective of two people, number one, who goes to international cons and somebody who attends international Comic Cons, can you imagine what the convention landscape is going to look like with people either refusing to get on a plane to travel internationally? Like you say, Tina, you're concerned about your safety when it comes to traveling abroad. What's your thoughts on it when it comes to the international convention landscape? We'll go with Tina first, I think.
I think people like me will be quite wary at first because some of these hotspots are actually worse than where we are right now. And we just don't know whether we feel safe enough to get a plane, spend the money, and then maybe at the other end, they are still not open to visitors from this country, and then you'll get stuck at the airport or may have to turn back. This is just like a huge amount of cost that you're actually risking just to go there. I think most of us would rather wait till the things improve or the vaccine is available, and then if not in large crowded places, there's definitely going to be cases. And the thing is that with this virus, you don't know how or when you will be able to, get infected because there's so many possibilities. Maybe people, it may be surfaces, it may be from someone that you don't even know or just brush against you in a public transport. So it's just like the risk is just there. And with that many people, it's just multiplied by the number of factors. Yeah.
Sure. Very cool. I'll ask the question of you, Fred, in a second, but just to follow that up, Tina, what is the current landscape for conventions in Singapore and in that region of the world? Which is the one? Which is there any shows which are still scheduled to go ahead at this point?
No, actually, everything is cancelled because the government said that no large-scale events are to take place at this time until further notice. And even like sports and stadiums, the events and the halls are closed. So they are not able to hold such events at all. Most of them have considered themselves to be cancelled for these few months. Even for the really big event called F1 racing, they are also not sure if that's going to happen, even though you'll bring lots of tourist dollars or whatever. They are not sure because the government is really taking more of a precautionary measures than risking, things like this. So I don't.
So I'm guessing then it's not very much like the case here in the UK and in the US and in Western conventions where organisers are announcing things which could be cancelled down the line, say October, November, December. Events are just at this point unilaterally just cancelled.
Nobody's announcing anything. And those that announced previously or know that usually this thing is going to happen at this time, they really consider themselves cancelled. And I think earlier on there was a illustration arts fest that was supposed to be held in April, but also because they felt that if they were to continue during that time, it was before the circuit breaker was announced. So it was like, if I were to, if they told me that if they were to continue that, and then, if somebody were to get sick, would they get sued, or will some legal suit come after them? And they are just like poor laymen or illustrators that have no money to put for legal fees, So it's like, it's safer just to cancel, and for the safety of everyone. It's just for the better good, so.
Yeah. I mean, there's the same question to you then, Fred. I mean, in terms of the international conventions, I mean, having international guests, or even I'm even thinking domestic guests traveling to, say, New York Comic Con. And I mean, if San Diego had, sorry, carry on.
No, complete your thought about San Diego.
I mean, if San Diego had postponed till October, November, which was kind of on the cards, I understand, would that be something that you would even consider getting on a plane and attending in 2020?
No, I wouldn't. I personally, as a guest, probably wouldn't do plane travel for, and it's not even so much, the plane travel, because plane flight, plane travel is relatively hygienic given the way the air is circulated and everything else. And there's definitely things the airlines can do to sort of separate you in seats and stuff.
Yeah.
I just more worry about a convention. All of us made jokes about con crud for years and years and years. That's a real thing. If you've got 100,000 people crammed into a single space, that's just a giant petri dish, The convention organizers here in the U.S. are kind of in a bind because our government, unfortunately, is run by corrupt morons and who have never formally made this. The federal government in the United States attitude about the pandemic is, it's bad. It's not that bad. I don't know. So a lot of these guys, particularly the big corporations like Reed, are kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because I don't know how their insurance money is going to get triggered if the government doesn't declare this a national emergency or something like that, right? So, so they're kind of. Furthermore, they're in an even tougher spot because these days the big attractions to these cons are guys who are on TV shows and movies. And if I'm an actor on a show, do I really want to put myself in a situation where I'm, having to touch people, several thousand people to take photos and so forth over a weekend? It just seems like it's too risky, So I think convention organizers they have both, as Andrew says, exactly. Yeah. I'm lucky. I got con crud exactly once. It was from New York Comic Con. It was like 8 years ago.
Good for you.
I feel like I've got an iron immune system for a variety of reasons. But anyway, so I'm very lucky in that regard. And also, I don't have as much fans as Norman Reedus or somebody is just. If I'm Norman Reedus, do I really want to put my health at risk? For I don't know how much dough these guys make, particularly the guys who are still actually on TV shows. I'm sure they make a penny, but what how do I balance the lost income versus the, their viral risk is much higher than me, who's
Sure.
a fraction of the people. It's dangerous just being in there. So there's the government, there's the legitimate health risk, but then there's also the impulse to keep it open because, Reeds get, for all the, if they've sold table space and they booked, the Javits Center in New York City, for example, or one of the other venues. I think Reed runs a show in Singapore, don't they?
Oh, yeah, that's the Singapore Comic Con that I
Yeah. So they paid for all these venues, and it's like they're kind of on the hook for that. So,
Yeah, I mean, I'm like you say. I think I've been particularly lucky. I mean, I think I got hit once at MCM London, but being the consummate professional, it's Red Bull. Yeah. No. I kept my distance. It was paracetamol, Red Bull, and just barrel through. I think at San Diego, I've been lucky enough to avoid it, but that's purely, I think, just down to tequila. Just kill it dead.
Right.
Just hit it and just kill it dead.
Being hungover and having concrete are two very different things.
This is very, 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 very true. Yeah, doing Thursday morning fully hungover, not a wise idea, but there we go. When I've spoken to people on the show over the last couple of months, it's been a real 50-50 split between people who have been consuming stuff off their shelves and kind of rediscovering kind of content, because at the moment we're just getting it's just reams of digital streaming, YouTube channels left, right, and center. I mean, Fred, the amount of podcasts I'm certain that you are currently doing, it's a fair few. But
this month for some reason.
Yeah, but it's been a 50-50 split between people consuming and rediscovering old material and kind of taking that on board, or people who've been kind of really looking to the future and looking at new stuff and kind of striving forward. I mean, obviously with yourself, Fred, you've got plenty of projects on the go, but what's it been for yourself when it comes to when you do get that time to just sit on the couch? Is it going for comfort food at this point, or looking a little bit more optimistic?
I really love sports, specifically baseball. So that's actually been kind of the roughest for me, is missing basketball and baseball, something that I would spend a lot of my time consuming, So I've been doing a lot of different. I've been reading a bunch of books. I've been alternating. I read a novel and then I finish it, and then I read a nonfiction book. I read a really interesting book about British submarine warfare during World War II called The Game of Wolves and Wrens. It's very well done. It's about the Wrens, who were the female British naval volunteers who ran this war game that sort of revolutionized sub-warfare and how Britain was able to defeat the German U-boat attacks on their shipping. And it's set sort of during that very precarious period when Pearl Harbor hadn't happened. And so Britain was kind of by itself, against the Axis, and sort of, and how they kind of counteracted the German, and it was all through this. It was essentially Battleship, right? You sunk my, A-15. It's like that, only slightly more sophisticated, but only slightly more. And these like 19, 20, 21-year-old women were running these simulations with these board games, and they got better at it than actual naval commanders. But that's a terrific book. It's called A Game of Wolves and Wrens, or Birds. No, Birds and Wolves. Guys, Google it. You'll figure it out. I joke. It's in my upstairs bookcase. Otherwise, I'd show it to you right now. But they had a sale on Assassin's Creed Odyssey for $15 the weekend that started, and I've been playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey for 3 months straight.
Wow!
So it's definitely it was an excellent $15 investment. I've worked for Ubisoft. They're good guys. I've done Assassin's Creed comics. I do like that. That's the the ancient Greek one.
Fair enough. So the whole Animal Crossing has managed to completely pass you by.
Yeah, man. I'm too old, man. I can't. I also I hate my phone so much. Like the less time if the less I have to deal with this piece of garbage, the better, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm old school. I have my analog Dead Tree books and my ancient console video games that I actually have to put on my television.
For myself, I'm looking backwards. I'm looking at slightly the runs of comics that I've got, and I'm getting older and older as the months go, months and weeks go on. So I mean, I started with like doing the Tom King, Mr. Miracle, the Vision runs, and then I went a little bit further back and went through my Justice League and Justice League International collection. And now I think I'm halfway through my Miracle Marvel Man collection. I'm going through those, so I'm going a little bit earlier and further back. I'm just, I seem to be going backwards at this point because, like I say, if I just turn on my notifications and subscriptions on YouTube alone, I get swamped. I'm just lost. For yourself, Tina, what's been your lockdown remedies so far?
Well, I'm still working, so work from home, and because my current company cut my hours, but I was lucky enough to get a side hustle, so I was kind of like 1.5 jobs working from home. Other than that, I think our local creatives have kind of got into the idea, got on board more than previously on live streaming. So can I share about some of the things that are being done?
Cool.
There was a project that was promoted in the Singapore Comic Con in December. Now that's a really interesting one that I'm quite excited about as well, because the superhero culture in Singapore is not as great as the Americans. Maybe because I don't know why, we just aspire to save the world or something. But anyway, the tokusatsu kind of genre is very popular in the Japanese kind, like Ultraman, Godzilla, Kamen Rider. So there's a community founded by 3 people. Their names are Basil, Meng Yao, and Ideal. So they have been forming this community for quite a long time, and they had a passion project. So they started an idea that there would be a tokusatsu Singapore superhero. And they managed to get the character design. They got the suit done as well, and kind of like a story framework. I think they originally wanted it to be a web series, but I think things have changed now. They even managed to get a concept trailer out, and this Singapore superhero is called Sacred Guardian Singa. Singa meaning lion, because we are called Singapore, and it's based on a Sanskrit word, Singa, which is Lion City. So it's a kind of like lion themed superhero with a suit, like a Kamen Rider type. And they had a trailer out, which was launched during Singapore Comic Con. No, I think it was launched after Singapore Comic Con. And then we had an idea of what it was about. There were some spirits. There was somebody has to get the mantle to get the spirit of this singer, and then fight against the evil. There was this doctor, Grulin, who is trying to get a crown. It was the evil guy's crown. And so there was this trailer, and then some people are saying that, oh, the acting is really hammy, like bad acting. But that's what tokusatsu is about. So, and I think it created some excitement within the locals, because, we always absorb pop culture from elsewhere, especially America. And it's really nice to see a group of people able to fuse together the history of our region as well as our country together to form this character, and then some mythology behind that, and have an idea that is able to produce something. I think they are now, because of the lockdown, they are not able to film anything more. But now that it's lifted, I think they have some rules where they can go on filming currently. I think they have a desire to get this idea out to the production companies to see if anybody's willing to make this into a full TV series. There
Wow.
is a lot of tokusatsu fans in the world, so this is like creating quite a bit of a buzz actually on social media. I think I want to get this out to the Western world as well, because I know there are tokusatsu fans out there and who may not know about Sacred Garden Singer. Other than that, they have it's already in the works and going to be printed soon on pre-order now. It's actually the prequel comic of this mythology, and it's called Sacred Guardians with an S, because it's about how the many other guardians have this battle between the good and evil. I think many centuries before the so-called TV series Guardians. Yeah. So
I mean, we've got Basil Yayo's watching actually, and saying number one, thanks for the shout out, but also jumping in as well. We pitched this to the local TV network, still waiting for the outcome.
Good luck, Basil.
Hopefully, yeah.
Good luck. Absolutely.
Yes, so we're really excited about, and they did a live stream to connect. Like you're kind of lonely during lockdown. All the geeks are like introverts. And I think I really appreciated that they had a series of live streams, and you could talk to the actors who were cast for this series, and then for the producers as well. And it's like you're connecting with each other again. And I think that was really, I think I felt nice after the live streams. You felt like connected to the world again, rather than just at home doing your own thing. And other companies are also doing that. So like publishers, local publishers, and they were having a live stream called Singlik Comics Den, and they put together creators to do workshops for people who want to learn more about how to write comics, draw comics. They also had book launches like the one that I talked about, the prequel comic, as well as others. I think it was a good way. So-called Singapore Comic Con Read was also involved in this. So they kept us updated on how they will continue to promote as well as support the local creatives here. The art scenes here is still very niche and very small. I think people are generally, and worse still, the art scene is small, and then the comics scene is even smaller. So it's a really, really niche group of people, and we're trying to connect and support each other as much as we can during this time. And Singapore Comic Con is doing their best as well. They have they created an online directory called Shop From Home, so that people can buy the artwork from the exhibitors that used to work with them. So I think that's kind of
cool.
Yeah, that's
well.
cool.
I mean, it's something I'm going to ask, kind of like dovetail into in a while. So I mean, certainly have a think about this, because we'll come back to it, Tina. Because here in the UK and in the US, we're very much in a lockdown when it comes to our comics industry, and we're only just now starting to get books back into the stores. And we've had this the news about DC. We haven't really heard about the comics landscape in Singapore and in that area of the world, in terms of how books have still been going out, if at all. So we'll come back to that.
Yep.
We'll come back to that. But for yourself, Fred, then, I mean, the things that have been keeping you occupied and keeping you moving forward. I mean, Action Presidents is the one that I've been paying attention to the most. If you could talk to us about that, because you see, you're doing that. You're doing that, and then I'm about to do this, because we actually have a bit of a graphic. Oh, there you go. There you go.
I like that.
Right. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So please give us the elevator pitch.
So these two. So this is real history, fake jokes, as we like to say. Full color comics by me and Ryan Dunleavy, known for Accomplicer Comics, and Action Philosophers, and anything else. These are technically middle grade books. They're for ages 8 through 12, but I like to think of them as literally all ages. So if you're into history, you're into great stories, these books are for you. The Wash and Lincoln books came out previously as black and white books. They are out as of last Tuesday in color, and then in 2 weeks, or next week, I think, the next two books, which are about Theodore Roosevelt and John F. Kennedy, will come out.
I mean, yeah, we've got those on screen as well. There you go. I mean, the tagline caught my attention with the real history, fake jokes, and we've got horrible histories here in the UK, which you may know of in the States.
Oh yeah.
That very kind of acerbic take on history.
I thought you meant in general. I was like, don't be so hard on the UK. Everyone's got horrible history.
See, I keep forgetting that people have heard of horrible histories outside of the UK.
I remember first seeing them. I did a signing in London at our pals at Gosh Comics, and I remember seeing their ads for them in the tube, and I was like, how can I get Subway ads? Jeez.
So, I mean, with horrible histories, it's a little bit more of an acerbic take on history. What's the kind of take that you've gone for with Action Presidents?
I think acerbic is a good way of putting it. It's very, we like to say irreverent but accurate. So it's a lot of jokes, but we don't, soft pedal any of the harder stuff, either in the individual biographies or sort of in American history in general. So we like to give people truth, but we also like to I mean, to me, the whole basis of comedy is truth. So the two things are very kind of like dovetail very nicely. I like to think of it as you're being told a story by your biggest wise ass friend, who's good at making you laugh while telling you what happened. And with Ryan's terrific artwork, of course.
So which books are available now? I mean, you were talking about the first two; those were black and white, but now they're out as a color printing.
We have a very large chain here in the United States called Walmart, and so at the behest of Walmart, the first two books came out 2 weeks early. So God bless Walmart; they're still open because they sell groceries. So when you're out there getting milk, grab your Action Presidents, But then in less than 10 days, next Tuesday, not this coming Tuesday, but the following Tuesday, Teddy Roosevelt and JFK will be available. So
nice.
So
I'm certain the question has been asked on numerous occasions, and you're going to get it again now. So yes, is there going to be a president upcoming that perhaps you would be willing to do an Action Presidents issue about?
Yeah, well, I mean, Ryan and I have been doing history comics since 2003, so we're now on year 17 of this. So I find it's easier to tell stories about dead people, histories about dead people, because their stories are over. I mean, the living their stories are not yet over, and so unfortunately, like Trump's story is not over. But
he's dead inside.
Sorry, he's dead inside.
He's dead inside.
That's true, but that's it's like a headless chicken. His body is just going to keep moving forward indefinitely, unfortunately. I think
it's also a little bit difficult to kind of take an irreverent take on something which is still ongoing and is still very sore for a lot of people.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I tend to avoid stuff like that has happened. Like, I think 10 years is a good, buffer to sort of like let this, anything more recent than 10 years is essentially journalism, which is not really what I do. I do history. Yeah. So, I want to do FDR. I mean, there's a lot of great, interesting precedents. Like, originally it was supposed to be FDR at JFK, but I made them do Teddy Roosevelt, like the action president. Just look at that. I'm trying to sorry, my cat is lying on my props, so I have to be very careful. I'm going to get bit. But I mean, look, he's just coming right at you, right?
Oh yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see if there are more. We filled our contract. Each book is 110 pages, full color, with great backup materials, and we signed the contract in 2014. So this is June 16th will be the culmination of a 6-year-long journey to create these books. So
fair enough.
And our next project is the aforementioned history of animation.
Fair enough. So, I mean, I'm trying to also work out what your kind of like the cutoff point would be. I mean, people have asked obviously about Trump, but I can imagine kind of maybe Reagan would be the when you talk about that kind of through
Reagan
time?
would be interesting. I would still rather do FDR. I'd really like to Andrew Jackson, who was like a great sort of son of a bitch, but also kind of a great character onto his own right. Like he was a real bastard person, and sometimes the villains are more interesting to write about than the heroes. They get into more stuff. But Reagan would be interesting. LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson, would be, I think, very, very interesting. He's a more recent president.
That'd be cool. And in terms of your writing, I mean, like I say, we had that mention of the con artist at the beginning. It is a great book.
Thank you.
I am a huge fan of it. I mean, we've talked about on the show before, but I am going to say one more time, guys, if you've not read it, if you love Comic-Con, if you love San Diego Comic-Con, if anything, there's one thing about the con artist, you can actually, I mean, you talk about, you recognize the bar or you recognize a street which has been described. This is the bit where you would read it and you would recognize the area of pavement you have slept on for Hall H. That's how detailed the book is. It goes all. It's very much for us as fans.
Well, since you can't go here, right?
Exactly. Oh no, that's the reason why I've taken it back off the shelf. To kind of, I've been reconsuming all the San Diego Comic-Con.
You tweeted about that fairly early in the pandemic, as I recall.
Yeah.
So actually on sale, I don't want to like. I'm trying to find the thing. It is on sale. Today is the last day, believe it or not. There's an ebook. Okay. There's an ebook deal. I'm assuming at Quirk Books that ends today. If it's $4.99, I don't mean to do the hard sell, but
there you go.
It's on sale for $5 right now. So now you have
in terms of the writing. Then, is there any other books that's non-comics, non-animation? Any of the books?
Yeah, I have a novel manuscript I finished while we were here in lockdown, and it's went out to the agent. It's gone out to editors. So see what happens.
See what happens. I mean, it's great to hear that. Like I say, you're producing across many genres and many medias, and it's great that there's all this output coming from you. And then again, of course, it's a case of getting stuff out into the stores, and it's been great to see a number of creators really kind of supporting the bricks and mortar stores with stuff like Creators for Comics. But those stores are finding themselves very much up against the wall, and it's also going to kind of get a little bit harder as well with this latest announcement with DC, with their stepping away from Diamond. As somebody who knows the industry well, who knows the players and knows the landscape, what was the first reaction from yourself when you heard the news on Friday?
I mean, so. It's hard not to draw.
Have I sprung this on you?
No, not at all. I mean, it's something I've been thinking about since Friday. It's hard not to draw parallels to 1995. I mean, as we said at the top of the show, I do a lot of comics history work, and I wrote the comic history of comics.
Absolutely.
With the oft-mentioned Mr. Dunleavy. And it's hard not to draw parallels to 1995, in which, in a sort of misguided attempt to seize market share, Marvel's corporate parents decided to go exclusive to their own distributor and essentially nearly destroyed the entire direct market. And sort of ironically, that is why Diamond ended up being the sole distributor of English language comics, at least in North America, was as a result of the cascading domino effect of disaster that was Marvel attempting to do its own distributor with Heroes World. So the historical parallels are not promising, particularly because if some of the rumors that Rich Johnson's been describing are true, it looks like this once again is another attempt by the corporate parent to kind of manipulate the direct market in their favor. and the direct market is really a very fragile thing.
Sorry, I'm sorry if I'm distracting you with the bottom graphics, but
oh no,
somebody's asking
right,
about your book.
Right.
So
Read my book. I hope you enjoy it. It's The Con Arts.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it definitely seems like that we're in a situation where DC is tired of being second fiddle to Marvel with Diamond, and has now kind of decided to go its own path. And in the middle of it, I certainly believe them when they say that this is in the works for a long time. It just seems like when we're in the middle of a global pandemic and depression, I question the timing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, whereabouts in the corporate structure do you think this decision came from? Did it come from DC, or did it come much higher up, do you think?
Well, I don't have any special insight that anyone on this panel or anyone listening to this live chat would have. I've just read the same stuff everybody else has. I mean, but I would assume there's no coincidence that Dan Didio was fired a couple weeks ago. Like, I'm assuming this is all part of the same. So it's obviously above him, right? And it's above the DC level. So, if DC added the direct market to the book market sales and the digital sales, I think they would probably be trouncing Marvel's ass on the sales charts. But for whatever reason, the sales chart people fixate on is the Diamond one. I feel like that they're kind of using a nuclear weapon when they should be using a fly swatter. Like, I feel like there's a way to kind of change there was a way to change that narrative to benefit DC that didn't involve blowing up Diamond, but this is the path they've chosen to take. Yeah. And that it's all about reporting to the corporate parent. That's just my interpretation based on the rumors that I've read on Bleeding Cool and elsewhere. So I don't claim to have any special knowledge as to the inner workings of DC at all. But based on using historical precedent, this strikes me as a move. This is part of an intra-corporate battle, where people maybe in the structure of DC are kind of sick of producing floppy comics. I mean, another much more recent example of a corporation doing something like this would be, because a lot of people think, oh, well, they're making money. DC Comics turns a profit, so leave them alone. Like, who cares? I mean, and the answer is that for a lot of people, it's not that you're not making money, it's you're not making enough money. For example, I used to do a lot of work for Marvel Games, and I did work for Marvel Games and Disney through Disney Games, but Disney shut down its entire interactive division in 2016. It was making money, but they decided it wasn't making enough money, so they literally just shut the division down, fired everybody, and absorbed the survivors into, believe it or not, the theme park division. So what's left of the video game division has been completely absorbed by the Imagineers. Wow. And they're all working on the theme.
I mean, I knew about the shutdown because it was also kind of tied in with LucasArts as well, and that whole area of the games production. I mean, the LucasArts obviously was the big headline at that point because there were, like you say, a number of incredibly popular games that were still selling. But I didn't know about the Imagineer element. I didn't know that's where
so they are literally now working on technology for the theme parks. Like, if you've been to a Disney park recently, you standing in line and there's like games you can play, right, with your phone, and there's trivia and stuff. Those are all being designed by the former Disney Games people, which is much, obviously, infinitesimally smaller division. And now Disney's had to absorb the Fox video game division. So God knows how that's. So good luck to those people. I know some of those people.
Good Lord.
I hope they do well. But yeah, so this strikes me as just a situation where there's an internal AT&T, Warner Brothers, DC sort of struggle, and this is sort of playing out in the direct market and at the behest of people who don't, let's be very blunt, have very little interest in the book market, in the direct market.
Yeah,
they see the future as YA, digital bookstores, and all that stuff. and maybe you're frustrated with the stranglehold the direct market still has over, you know, how people think about DC Comics. That's my totally, and I again want to stress, completely ignorant speculation.
I mean, I've been trying to read as much as I possibly can from all sorts of quarters when it comes to this whole situation, and it really does smack of the people who are going to get the absolute roughshod end of this, very much the pointy end of the shitty stick, is the retailers, in terms of distribution tax, in terms of actually just the dealing with the companies which DC have gone in with. Apparently getting them on a phone or to respond to an email is difficult enough as it is. I'm really curious to see how the whole thing is just going to fall out. And the reason why I was asking about where do you think in the corporate ladder the decision was, the fact that although it's very clear that it has been something that's been long-term gestating, and it's not something they would have just conjured out of the blue. It feels like it's a short-term thinking plan. It doesn't seem kind of fully baked, if that's one way of thinking about it.
The one thing that I think people don't really understand and I think that fans are don't think about this as much as maybe even the corporate higher-ups in Warner's and AT&T think about, which is the direct market bankroll. The most expensive thing in comics production is talent, right? Forget, printing and shipping and everything else. The most expensive single expense in creating comics is paying the writers and artists to make them. And the direct market for decades has underwritten that. That's where you get graphic novels from, is that graphic novel is pure profit in many cases, because it's already been paid for by retailers and fans who buy their monthly floppies. That at least was my experience at Marvel. I don't know how DC's situation is. I don't know what DC is paying people to create these YA graphic novels that they want to shift towards. I don't know if they're going to have revenue to justify the production of the level of graphic novels they're currently making if they take away the direct market and the money that brings in. Because it's not just literal dollars and cents, it's also cash flow. Because that money is flowing from the direct market to the creators, and then you can book. Now you can take the book and send it to the Barnes & Nobles and Amazons of the world. I don't know. We're very much entering unknown territory as to whether or not the bookstore market is robust enough, frankly, to support creators at the level they're used to being supported in the comic book direct market. My experience is that book publishers are not willing to pay as much for anything, much less. So I don't know where is the financial incentive for creators, if you take away monthly page rates. It's kind of my bottom line. It's the direct market that underwrites monthly page rates. You take away monthly page rates, you may find the production pipeline gets in trouble. But I don't know.
I think Boom, IDW, Dark Horse, Image are going to get a very quick influx of some very good creative talent, I think.
As they start.
This is
a
good point. That's a good point. Tina, we alluded to it before we kind of went to the thread in terms of what the Southeast Asian market is for comics and how that's gone. In terms of the books going out to stores and how the engine has been turning, what's it been like in your part of the world? Are people starting to go back out and get comics again, read the books?
They're still on phase 1, so there's no retail stores open as well.
That's not right, okay.
Yeah. As I said, the market is really a niche market. And if you talk about comics per se, the manga market is much bigger. So let's just get that one out of the way. So totally
sure.
thing. So we're talking about Western English comics, and it's really even like you kind of like know who are the people who will buy every week. Like I know these guys, and I'm personally not really much of a superhero, so I'm more of a graphics novel person. But since I'm in part of the community, I know these people, and there are only like about maybe 4 or 5 comic stores. 2 of them maybe popular ones, and then the rest are like, you know, if I can't find this, or I'm more loyal to this one, I'll go to that one. But since it's all locked down, so people can't buy their comics. I think one of them did manage to send something to those that have comics on order, and he delivered some of the packs to them this week, I guess, because we were on partial lockdown, so he's able to get some delivery done. But the rest is like, you know, I think everything's on stall mode. You can't do anything at all.
Okay.
The thing
Well, I mean, here in the Western market, obviously, like we mentioned about the creators for comics and the way that the community has rallied around those kind of the stores and the bricks and mortar stores. What's it been like in Singapore for the support that the stores have had? I mean, are they going to be having the similar kind of situation where we may not see them reopening once pandemic is lifted?
Yeah, I think people are concerned with that as well, because the longer this goes on, about the retail is dying, and they need some reopening to be able to survive. Hopefully, the phase 2 that we are talking about would help them somewhat, although we do not know what social distancing rules they have to follow again. But then I need to add on that in Singapore, though, not just the comic book stores, you know, Kinokuniya is also here, and they are quite a popular bookstore. They have a sizable section on comics and graphic novels. And personally, I usually buy from there because I buy some other stuff as well, and then I buy the comics from there. So that's quite interesting, because in the previous, like maybe when I was younger, bookstores don't sell comics. They hardly do. And it's like when we saw that Kinokuniya was selling comics, like, oh yeah, you know, there's an alternative place for us to buy, and we can, especially if you are buying books as well, and you get discounts together, you know, things like this. So we are just all hoping that the retail industry will be able to survive, including these bookstores and comic book shops. Now that Diamond is no longer the distributor for DC as well, I think some of them are concerned because of how the shipping costs will be. It will be more expensive. Already comics here aren't like $4.99 or something, you know, it's like US, Sing dollar maybe. It can go up to $20, $30, which is USD, more than $10.
I remember signing it.
Of shipping.
I remember signing in New Zealand, and I was just stunned at how expensive the comics were. They were handing me to sign, because it's the same.
Comics are very expensive, so it's not like people can just swipe one copy and that's your book for the comic for the day. It's not possible. It's like an investment.
Yeah.
And so yeah, they are concerned. I think I've already saw some kind of like, you know, on my Facebook. So I'm not sure how this is going to pan out, or how reliable these distributors are going to be concerning overseas shipping.
Yeah.
And to speak to Tina's point, just to really lay it out for people, the problem is that a comic book retailer gets a discount on the stock they order based on sheer volume of comics. DC is about 30% of the market. So when you take away DC, not only and put them over here to a totally different shipping regime, not only are you now paying more for DC Comics because they're out of the batch that you're buying for Diamond, you're paying more for your Diamond comics as well, because you've now sucked out 30% of your order, thus reducing order volume. So now all comics are more expensive in a time period when stores are locked down, people are scared to leave their houses and go to the store, and you know, it's not like floppies were doing gangbusters in the first place, even before this started. So it's just kind of.
Am I the only person who buys floppies? Am I the only person that still buys floppies?
Absolutely not. There are at least 100,000 of them. Kidding. Maybe a bit more. But globally, there's more. Absolutely. But thank you for supporting the industry. But
Oh.
but the challenge for a retailer is now suddenly, not only do I now have you made me do more paperwork, and now I got to deal with a distributor. You've suddenly made my entire stock more expensive. And I've slightly more shipping costs as well. So that's really the problem. It's not even so much I love people love Diamond. But thank you, Sir Lister. Everyone who buys floppies, we love you. And hey, I buy floppies sometimes myself. But then I've been a trade rate waiter since like 1992, so I'm not the person to buy.
Yeah.
But a total convention. Hi, my name is Fred. I'm a comic book creator and trade waiter. But yeah, the problem is DC has made everyone's bills go up.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if that's ends up being a net positive somehow, I don't know how, but even if it somehow ends up being a net positive, that is why people are upset.
Sure.
And it's more painful during this time, during the pandemic, when people are making losses already, or the months of business closure that they have to suffer, and then now this, it's not easy.
100%.
Yeah.
Karen Sessions asking a good question, and we might as well just clarify this. Sorry for my ignorance. What are floppies? I watched a comic book industry podcast yesterday where a retailer had to apologize for calling them floppies, because within the industry it feels very dismissive to call them that. Single issues, floppies. And therefore your trade paperback's a little bit more solid, but single issues.
If you want to be really offensive, you call them pamphlets.
Oh, really? Okay, I've not heard that one before.
Yeah,
okay,
that's another one.
That one's new.
Single issues.
Single issues, indeed. You've got Into the Boom, Mr. Explaining that. Under English, I have 22 long boxes of floppies. I'm not that far away, but I'm working on it. Also, you've got Solicitor Smeg and Sir Andrew English making some pretty good points. Solicitor Smeg, I feel it might hurt them in the short term, but breaking Diamond's monopoly will foster competition, and that usually lowers costs.
Actually, that's a very important point that I would like to jump into right now. With all due respect, Sir Lister Smeg, you are misstating the situation. That no monopoly has been broken here. You would break a monopoly if you had two distributors, each with the same product line, that stores could choose from, and then those two distributors could compete with each other. What you have here now are two monopolies. You have two stores, because don't forget, the two distributors DC are using are not competing with each other. They've actually split the North American continent in half.
Yeah.
And one has been assigned the West and one has been assigned the East. So what you really have is DC has given its monopoly, taken its monopoly from Diamond and given it to this a cartel. That's literally what a cartel is, right? It's multiple businesses conspiring to control the market. So DC has got its little cartel with its two distributors, who I feel compelled to point out are owned by the two biggest online retailers and are therefore the two largest Diamond accounts. As if we needed another layer of crazy to put onto this, is that you're asking, the brick and mortar retailers to buy comics from their online competition and to give them their customer information and their sales data. They have every reason to be concerned about how those outfits are going to use that data. So you don't actually have more competition. You actually have less competition, because you have two monopolies. You have the DC monopoly and everybody else monopoly, the Diamond monopoly. So unfortunately, no monopolies have been broken. You just added another monopoly on top of the existing monopoly. Yeah. So you're really not.
I found it interesting when the pandemic happened and when Diamond closed their doors and shuttered the distribution offices. Here on the show, as fans and as people who read, we were discussing the situation. We had the idea as poor, lonely comic book fans who are completely unfamiliar with the full story and the ins and outs, we were thinking, this could break the diamond monopoly. This could finally open things up to new distribution networks. We could finally see different avenues being explored and whatever. And when we were talking about that with other fans, that's the conversation that came up. And then we had Jimmy Palmiotti on, and we had Dave Johnson on, and we had Jared from OK Comics, and we were mentioning about the breaking of the diamond. Could this break diamond? And they were just going, we don't actually want that. We like diamond a lot. It's very easy. It's one form. We press a button, the books come through. They're great to talk to. They've supported us all this time. My attitude to diamond has changed over the course of the last 2 months. My take on what they do, and I'm really curious to see how this will work in pro and cons in Diamond's perspective.
As Steve Jeppy pointed out, in a recent online forum, is that he actually made more money back in the 90s when there was Capital City and all these other, distributors. Having a monopoly is not necessarily good for Diamond. I mean, again, ironically, it was DC's idea to go with Diamond in the first place in 1995. So it's sort of like DC's created one situation in the 90s, and now they're trying to create a new situation in the 2020s. But I mean, look, a lot of the, I think, hostility towards Diamond is if you're an independent creator, Diamond is a gatekeeper, and they determine whether or not they're going to take your product. Now there's the internet. I feel like that's a kind of a silly thing to hold against them, because you're going to get one more people on Tumblr anyway, And the second reason is that because they're the only game in town, if your shipment of Watchmen Absolute gets all messed up and the dust covers are ripped and the corners get bent, you're going to blame Diamond, right? But there's the physical job of a distributor is still going to be the same, whether it's Diamond doing it or Lunar or I forgot the name of the other one, the other DC one, UCS or whatever it is. They're Midtown and Discount Comic Services, who they really are. But anyway, that's still something they're going to have to challenge with. So the hostility of Diamond is more like, I don't know. Forgive me for using a metaphor. It's like hostility towards American imperialism, right? They're just kind of everywhere, and they're the big game in town. And yes, they do terrible things, but who do you want running?
Yeah.
As I was saying that, I'm sorry, that's a terrible analogy.
Well, I'm trying to remember the Douglas Adams analogy of the voting for the right lizard.
That's
because whichever happens, a lizard's going to get in. Yeah, absolutely.
It's terrible example.
Leanne D.
Diamond has never killed anybody, so I retract that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I apologize for comparing Diamond.
Probably a good idea on that one.
I apologize.
Leanne D saying, Fred is elegantly explaining what it would have taken me forever to type. So there you go. Solicitor Smeg, if you call them pamphlets, riots might start again.
Right, 100%. We already had enough riots here in the wrong path.
And I am being told off by Toby. Hey, Leonard, breaking the bindings there. Okay, sorry about that. But, yeah, I'll behave and I'll look after myself when it comes after my books. But there we go. I only wanted to keep you guys for an hour. And I know it's getting very, very late now for Tina, so I think we could carry on going. But it's been a pleasure talking to you guys. It's been great to get some real perspective, certainly on a global, to make this a global conversation, which I think we need to do more of. As the pandemic goes on and as lockdown goes on, the conversations seem to get more and more insular, if you know what I mean. Yes. We're looking across the internet at various subjects, but it's all very much from a bit of a bubble. But it's great to kind of open up the conversation a bit. So there we go. Before we let you go, Tina, if you want to explain to people where people can find you online and what you get up to.
Yes. I go under the brand name of red.diva. So you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and I blog about pop culture, but I try to concentrate on what's happening in Singapore and focus on creators that are from here or from the region of Southeast Asia. and that's where you can find me. I'm online all the time.
Excellent stuff. Thank you very much indeed for that. And Fred, where can people find you online? Let's bring this up on screen one more time. Action Presence is what I'm showing there, but there's plenty of things that you're up to. Yeah.
Action Presidents.
Where can people find you online, sir?
Fred Van Lente. If you can spell my name, it's on the screen. That's me on Twitter. That's me. I'm fredvanlente.com. That's my Facebook. It's also my email. Should I tell people that? I don't know, but it is. And yeah.
Congratulations. I'd like to see what your inbox is going to be like.
That's right. The Con Artist is on sale. The last day is today for $5 ebook on quirkbooks.com.
Right. Does that sale also go for the audiobook?
I have no idea. I don't think so, but
I want to hear this thing. That's really
Roger Wayne read the book. I know it's on Audible, so you can get it on Audible.
That has really got my attention. Yes, absolutely. Because, like I say, my signed copy is one of my prized possessions. There you go.
You don't get this. I assume you get at libraries. You don't get the cool con badge in the pool of blood, which I like. Sorry, my screen is mirroring, so I don't know where to put my finger.
Yes, yeah. Guys, if I did an interview with Fred when the book was released, it does go into a little bit more about the tone of the book. If you want to find out more about it, search for the interview I did with Fred.
We were in that London room at the Docklands,
that little room in the XL. Absolutely, right. It's a very cool book in terms of the first, I'd say, third of it is very much it's a love letter to San Diego Comic-Con, and as the story goes on, it turns into not beyond a kind of like the initial conceit of a murder mystery that takes place over the course of San Diego Comic-Con into some really interesting noir detectives areas. It's a very, very, very cool. The book almost noir. The book evolves as you read it. It's very, very cool. But there we go. Right. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Tina. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Fred. We'll let you get off. It's been a pleasure talking to you. We'd love to get you back on at some point down the line, but for now, it's been great to have you on.
Right. Thanks. Thanks.
Take care. Look after yourselves. Thank you very much indeed. So there you go. Very, very cool. Do check out their stuff. I mean, we've had a great run of some really interesting people on the show this last couple of months, and those two are just amazing. So there we go. Into the Blue Mister. I don't know where to put my finger is going to be the quote of the day from Fred. Yeah, absolutely. Solicitor Smeg has also got a comment. So we'll bring that up just to we can discuss it in the Q&A if you want to make any comments to this. Solicitor Smeg, I respectfully disagree. Technically, distributors have doubled. You can't expect things to change in a day. If more publishers follow and more distributors come out of the wood, the cost will come down. It's how this works for DC, and if it works for DC. The quote that came from a retailer's podcast, which I saw on the Friday, literally as the news dropped, was a case of the quote from Steve Jeppy, who's the guy behind Diamond, those that don't pay attention to history are doomed to repeat it. This has been tried before. To quote Battlestar Galactica, this has happened before and it will all happen again. We'll see how it goes, but there we go. Right. Thank you very much indeed for joining us for that. It's been a pleasure talking to Tina and Fred. We're going to do our show again on Wednesday, as we are going to be bringing on Declan Shalvey and Alex Packnadell. This is going to be a cool one. Declan Shalvey is, of course, the award-winning artist behind some incredible books, including Moon Knight, including, the list is endless. I mean, the stuff he's done, but also his recent book, Bog Bodies, which is just astonishing, being distributed by Image. It's going to be great to talk to him about what he's been getting up to throughout the course of the pandemic, but also from the writer's perspective, we have Alex Packnadell, somebody who I have been hyping for a while and I feel could be the next comic superstar. Very, very cool indeed to have those two on the same show. That's going to be on Wednesday. Now, we have yet to get a guest for next Sunday, but we have several people in the works. Watch this space. We'll get back to that. Fingers crossed I get that email back from Rachel Hine from Nerdist, but we'll see where we go from that. But the Monday after, on the 15th, I want to kind of mention about this because we are doing something a little bit special. Like I say, it's going to be on the Tripwire channels. We're going to be doing this on their Facebook, their Twitter, and their YouTube. I'd like to try and stream it to the Englishman as well, but basically I've been involved as one of the judges for the Tripwire Awards 2020. It's going to be taking place, the award ceremony, on Monday the 15th of June, a little bit later than we would usually be doing the live streams, so we'll be doing that from midday Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. GMT. So it's going to be very much more the evening affair. I'm going to be a little bit more booted and suited. There will be a shave. There will be a glass of champagne to my side. So looking forward to talking about this, considering we've got some great presentations to give out. I mean, we've got ourselves a number of categories: best writer, best artist, best cover artist, best colorist, best letterer, best new series sponsored by Ace Comics, best publisher, and best new talent, which is sponsored by my site. I wanted to give back and recognize the up and coming, so looking forward to providing that support by sponsoring the best new talent award. Best original graphic novel, best collection, best editor, and best comics related website and publication. And then we're also supporting the those other than the big two. So we've got best small press independent UK and best small press independent US. So we've got those, but also we've got ourselves something which is I'm really excited about, kind of seeing what you think of who's been put forward. We're choosing two names from this role. The role of honor is Mike Mignola, Joe Kubert, Pat Mills, Alex Ross, P. Craig Russell, Alan Moore, Dave Gibbons, Louise Simonson, and Eric Stevenson. So we're talking editors, writers, artists, legends when it comes to the world of comics. Two of those are going to be selected for the role of honor, and that's going to be interesting when we get those two announced. So that's really going to be rather cool. But that's going to be taking place Monday, the 15th of June. Please do join us for the award ceremony. Wednesday, our chat with Alex Packnadell and Declan Shalvey. And then something special for next Sunday. There you go. To be announced. TBA. Hopefully we'll do something a bit special with that. Let's see what we've got in terms of last comments. Dan Berry, Louise, but no Walt. This is the votes and nominations that have come in. Obviously, there's been a lot of fans of Louise's editing and also her writing on X-Men, perhaps. So who knows? Into the Blue, Mr. Leonard opens the envelope next Monday, and the award goes to Best Online Content, An Englishman in San Diego. Myself, Joel with Tripwire, and also the other judges as well. We have taken our stuff out of the equation. Ours have not gone into the running, so no fruit being thrown in my direction, thank goodness. Andrew English, universal silicon keyboard, protective film for laptops is what Leonard needs. I am tempted to put a lot of cling film everywhere. 2 glasses of champagne in, you don't know what's going to happen. Solicitor's Meg, I won't root for Ross, just for you. Listen, I'm a fan. I like and love Alex Ross's artwork. Maybe it's just him and his publicist I'm not too friendly with. Who knows? But there we go. It's going to be fun. Do join us. And as we get closer, certainly over the course of this next week, I will be pushing the Tripwire social media, so you can join us for it. It's also going to go out hopefully on my Facebook page, and we'll try and share it as far as we can. But it's definitely going to be going out on Tripwire magazine on their Facebook, their YouTube, and their Twitter. So do follow Real Tripwire, certainly on Twitter, Periscope, and I think Tripwire magazine on YouTube. I'll find the links and get them shared for you. But there we go. Thank you very much indeed for watching. It's getting up to past now. I'm going to get off and enjoy the rest of my Sunday. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday as well. Like we discussed on the podcast, these are strange and interesting times. They're challenging for some. They are frustrating for many. But hopefully together we can all come together. And well, let's just try and get through this. And let's see if we can get through this with some real change at the other end. When it comes to the pandemic, let's hope that we have some real change in terms of how we deal with this in the future, how we deal with each other in the future. And in terms of the protests, I hope we get some real systemic change, because I think we all recognize it's all needed. Things that we didn't talk about, did we? We didn't talk about London Film and Comic Con. It has been postponed, moved further back into the year, but it is still going ahead by all accounts. Andrew English is saying, nice to see that it's moved. Now it's time for Wales Comic Con. That's down to James and also the organization. They had their online event this weekend, but we'll see how that goes. What else? I think that's pretty much us. Do take care. Stay safe, look after each other, wash your hands, and hopefully we'll see you on Wednesday for another Talking Con, a cup of tea with Englishman in San Diego. For myself, Leonard, to you, all the best, lots of love, and we'll see you soon.